Hey guys, this is UC from My Trade Price. It is Saturday, June 26th. Let us go through some of the charts that we follow and trade. So you're looking at a weekly chart of Tesla, and the first thing that strikes out is that it's sort of trying to get out of this downtrend line, right? Something like that. And so far, yeah, got rejected here with a little bit of top wick, but at least from the trend perspective, it's fine. We'll see how the next week looks to be, but if it's next week kind of starts off a little on the weaker side, goes down and then goes back up, that's a good sign for a bullish trade. Let me get to the daily time frame. So yeah, just gap up and then 2 days worth of sort of consolidation towards just below 700. And if I bring the levels, so these are the levels that we have for next week, and let me drill to a lower time frame. So actually looks good. So the Tesla did manage to go above and close above the downtrend line in daily, right? Which is, let me just kind of show it to you again, this one right here, right? So that's a good sign because this one is not accurate. So if I draw an accurate one, which is on this other set, looks like yes, it did manage to close above that, and drilling down to a lower time frame, it's sort of in the channel sideways to slightly down, right? We'll see if early next week the 665 becomes a sort of a support, and then it tries to go back up above 678, and then it tries to break this channel to the upside for move up. There's a little bit of gap left. We'll see if we fill the gap to the downside before moving up. But you know, multiple scenarios that we can kind of plan accordingly in this name. Okay, let's go to Apple. So Apple looks nice here as well. Good weekly price action, right? From location perspective, higher highs and higher lows, so that's a good sign. The weekly sort of resistance comes into play right here. We have this area, we have all this area, and if you go back sort of like that, so this is a resistance area, right, that we need to be careful and see how the stock acts in the lower time frame. If I drill to the daily time frame, let me do that. It is above the downtrend line, so that's a good sign. And higher low, higher high, that's a good sign as well. No bearish trend bars, right? And even, oops, I think this is a 3-day chart. Let's go to the daily chart. So yeah, I mean, no big bearish bars. It's nice upwards channel. You have more bullish trend bars, means buyers are in control. Any red bar you see, there's no downside follow through to that, right? Nothing of that sort. So that means any attempt sellers make to take the price go down, it doesn't really happen. And this consolidation in the past few days were towards the top half of its recent range, right? Which is right there. So nothing bearish. Underlying price action is still very much bullish on this name. So we'll see how the next week opens up, but as long as we're in this up channel, as long as 131, 132 level holds, this looks good. And on the top side, 135.5 would be the first upside initial target, followed by 137.3. Okay. And here's the Amazon monthly chart, right? On a monthly level, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a flaggish, right? With 3,000, 3,100 area as good support, and this so far not totally inside, but sort of like inside monthly bullish month so far, right? We still have few sessions left before this monthly bar closes, but looks nice. And if you look at the weekly time frame, good, nice bullish action right here. I would have liked this one to close a little bit here to keep somewhat bullish stance, but still not bad as long as we are above 33.65. This can make its way up, right? One thing to notice is that on the weekly level, right, every time the price comes to this area, right, it was getting rejected very quickly from that level, right? Very quickly the next week, following the week after the price gets over here, right, would be very brutal. We would just see a big nice move down. So far doesn't look like that has happened, right? This week was sort of like a bearish but pause, right? Nothing too aggressively bearish. So let's drill down to the daily time frame and see if it can get some clues. 2 days of bearishness, right, with this 35.21 acting as resistance, right? We had 3 attempts where the price couldn't get above that, and now let's see, this was the breakout area, right? So if we can get a bounce from 33.65 early in the next week and slowly build on to go back towards 35.20 and onwards, so we'll see how that acts. And then we have this 21 SMA also kind of catching up to the price. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, yes, I won't be too aggressive on the bullish side unless we see a nice, maybe a pause bar or like a trend bar failure setup or something like that to start leaning bullish on this name. Okay, let's take a look at this ROKU. What a nice run it has had in the past few weeks now, a couple of weeks, right? Good, all good here. Let's go into actually a monthly, just see. We still have a few sessions left before the month is over, but we are at a level where we are going to be running into some resistance here between 430 and 448, right? But if we move up early in the next week, this can definitely go towards 448, right? That's where sort of next logical target would be. If I move to the daily time, the weekly time frame, right? Nice bullish trend bar, right? Buyers in control closed at the top end of its weekly range, right? We have multiple touch points here, 1, 2, sort of like 3, 4, and then this 5th one, right? So you would expect some sort of pause here, but if it goes above that, you know, that could be nice. Good upside targets were 448, and we'll see how that goes. But then over and above, it's 483. And if you want to look towards the downside, let's get into maybe hourly, and let me bring the levels. Nothing too bearish here. Like if you look into the hourly, just a nice healthy consolidation between 420 and 432 in the past 2 days, right? So if you were looking for an entry, 421, 420 was a good pullback entry right here on Friday, right? And it closed towards the high end. So looks good here so far. Okay, here's a chart of SHOP in the weekly time frame. We did close below this 1493 resistance, right? We did trade above that, but we couldn't close above it. So let's see how next week maybe we can kind of, you know, go down before we move back up to, you know, have a real breakout on this name. But so far it looks good. I mean, the volume was nice too. Overall in a nice bullish trend. It's just you have to kind of be careful because of its range that you enter this name, you know, at an optimal point. So for example, on Friday, if I bring the levels, 1434, right? That's what the level that we were looking for. That if it trades below that, get in. So if you look at the price, the way it's kind of in this channel, right? So 1434, I think it went for maybe 1 minute, and you know, we had a conditional order to execute at once the price goes below 1434. So yeah, so there's your dip right there. On Friday, had an order that to get into this 1450C, right? When the price goes below 1434. So something like that, 1434. So I think the order got executed and we got out. I think I came out here and then further trimmed down later in the day, right here somewhere, or maybe somewhere here. Did not hold it all the way because, you know, the premium would have been melting. So anyways, you get the idea. But so far looks good. I mean, it's in the channel here. You just have to time it accordingly. It's sort of flaggish, right? So we'll see early next week what it does, but looks good. Bottom wick off of 8 SMA looks nice. We'll see what happens early next week on this name, NVDA. Okay, let's get into NVDA. Let's take a look at the weekly level. Nothing wrong, just nice, healthy, bullish trend. Higher highs, higher lows. You know, closes towards the top end of its weekly range. So all good here, nothing wrong with that. In the daily time frame, again, just kind of consolidating on the top end of its, you know, sort of recent range right here. This was sort of the breakout, gave a little dip, moving averages, you know, kind of caught up, and then now again it's providing some support. So we'll see early next week how we can play this. But if I bring the levels, the key price levels on this name, and drill down to, let's say, a 15-minute chart, looks nice actually. Let me do a 30-minute chart. So yeah, look at this. It looks pretty nice, and you know where to execute your buy order if the price comes here. Let's say this would be my execution spot for a dip buy, you know, because of channel support, because of uptrend line support, sort of gap fill, whatever you want to call it, channel support right here, price, horizontal price support. So good level. I mean, you know, from risk and reward perspective, unless or until it breaks 748, we can easily see a move up and then to take out this channel and back towards the highs for a push towards 780 plus. Okay, so nothing wrong with that chart as well. Just nice, healthy consolidation towards the side. Moving averages catches up, and the trend line can be good support. So watch for that. But if it breaks that, definitely then we can kind of move towards the downside and have these support levels to guide us. Okay. And here's the chart of Facebook. You can just immediately see the dominance of buyers because of bullish underlying price structure, right? This is a weekly chart, and you can see no weekly price bar that is red is a bearish trend bar, and it does not get a follow through to the downside, right? Even if there's a follow through, it gets bought up. So trend is your friend, stay with it, and we will keep trading it on the long side, right? It's moving in a nice upside channel. So yeah, I mean 33.27 is a good support level to consider to see if it closes below that for a bearish price action. But as long as it's above that, it is nice. And if I bring a daily chart here, this channel is right, you know, kind of more visible. And if I bring the levels, so trade it off of the 30-minute chart, yeah, looks pretty good. You can see that when it broke this channel trend line, right, it was a long trigger. Now we're having a similar situation. See if it trades here, opens here, and then takes out this 343 level to move further to the upside, right? As long as it's above 337, 338 on an intraday basis, it looks okay. It looks good. So, you know, in the past it has done that. Every time it breaks the channel to the upside, it moves up. It moves up, right? So we're trying to see if it does that kind of thing again here in the lower time frame to trade against. Okay, let's go to BA. Let's move on to, let's say, a weekly time frame. At the weekly level, good uptrend line touch point right here. You know, it was right here, and now this last week tried to move down and couldn't do it. So there are multiple ways you can kind of think of this, right? Remember how we talked about ABC, sort of this point being the A, this point being the B, C, and C being the higher low, right? So the trigger would be to buy it once it reaches there. But if you drill down and if you look carefully, there's another setup, right? Similar kind of thing. A, we call this B, and if this becomes a higher low, right, that means 258.5 is your trigger to take a long entry with this as your stop loss. Again, these are all setups, and it's still honoring the uptrend line, right? So if you kind of look from other perspective, something like that, this can be a inverted head and shoulder with this being a neckline. So there are multiple ways of analyzing a chart, looking at a chart, reading, but what matters is what is the price telling you. Right now it's just telling me it's sideways with this 258.5 as the breakout area, and it's maintaining its healthy uptrend line. It's closing above this 21 SMA, which keeps it bullish. So all those kind of things, right? And if I bring the levels here in the daily, actually, let's look at 30 minute. Let me bring the levels. So yeah, look at this. It's nice uptrend channel, right? And well, this one is not pretty clean, but something like that, where you see it move above this trend line, downtrend line. That's your trigger for a buy, right? And the monthly bar goes green at 253, so that's even further bullish. That on a higher time frame, this is getting bullish. Okay, so all good here as well for right now. On the downside, 256 is sort of my number that I want the price to remain above, to remain constructive, bullish, right? Something like that. But if it trades below that, definitely, that means it's going to break down from this channel and trying to make a lower high, something like that. Okay, here's the chart of Zoom on a monthly level, right? This monthly bar is still not complete. We have a few sessions left for the month of June, but just to give you an idea, right, we are out of this sort of wedge, right? Nice monthly bar site right now that is going on. So we couldn't really break down from this level, right? Tried here, couldn't do it. Tried here, couldn't do it. Tried here. Buyers brought it back up, and now we are trying to break out of this wedge. Now let's get into the weekly. Looks nice, right? Maintaining this recent uptrend, and there's no real, actually, I don't know, till 405 to 426, 27, something like that. There's no real resistance, right? So if I bring the levels and let's get into 30 minute, here's your channel, here's your trend, right? This is your buy spot, this is your buy spot, pull back. I mean, this was right here on Friday, gave a nice close. I think Annie opened 2 weeks out 380C, right? She got in some calls there, so yeah, looks good. Higher lows, nothing wrong with the price, just upwards, so all good, nothing to worry about there. Let's get into one more. Netflix. Okay, let me go into a weekly level. So yeah, at a weekly level, I think we still have some room that this can move towards, right? This the trend line that on a major time is this one, right? So let's get into the weekly, actually a daily. So yeah, so here it is. So we got a couple of gap up moves right here, and now you can see another gap up towards this 540. That's where I think we will see a pause in this run that has been going on since the past early last week, right? So our long area was trigger was like 504 or 505 something, right? So that gave us an entry, and I know Annie did trim some of the shares, but I believe we're still holding I think it's an October call a little far out, just so that we wanted to give it time to play out, but it's looking nice so far. So if I move to and bring the levels, move to 30-minute again, looks nice, right? Just nice healthy consolidation after the gap up. So we can definitely see another gap up from 533, something like that, and move towards 540 where the trend line meets. And you know, if I draw a little sort of trend, something like this, it's looks nice. So we'll keep an eye and trade this one. Okay, hope you guys like this little video. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, whatever, please let us know. Thank you and have a good rest of your weekend.